Yeah, good afternoon, our viewers. We welcome you to this edition of PR Extra. It's a program we have designed to bring high-profile personalities, government officials, to come and answer some trending issues from the public, and of course, give them an avenue also to hear their views and tell us of their plan. This edition is specially prepared for the first anniversary of Govt 2.0, and this time around we are coming with a guest. I know he's not. Many of you have heard of his name. You have seen his pictures online, particularly on student platforms. He's popular among the Aluta Continua generation. So we have a very amiable personality today, Mr. or Comrade, Mr. Victor Dideolu Olojede. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. We appreciate you creating time for us for this interview, particularly at this season. I know that you have a lot of things to do for the first anniversary. But it is also important that the public get to know some of your activities so that we know that it is not just a Botalicua continua. So to start with, I want to ask you, the student affairs, you had the senior special assistant to the governor of Oyo State, Engineer Oluwaseyi Makinde, on student affairs. These students, is it across all board or just tertiary institutions?
Okay, thank you so much. Students are from all fair. What I mean is that all across, we have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Tertiary level at postgraduate, undergraduate. These are the students that the office interface. But most times you have much work with that of the tertiary level. But sometimes also we have much work on on secondary level. For example, last week we were in Ibadan Grammar School to resolve a crisis between students. It was an inter-school crisis that we had to look into and resolve some of the crises. So it's all around. And then we also bring about programs for students in secondary school. For example, in Govt 1.0, we had the camera light action program where during the school break, when school was off session, we took students from various schools in Ibadan and we trained them in cinematography, photography, and then some other aspects of photography. So it's across all levels of education.
Thank you. Until last week, I didn't even know that your scope of responsibility extends to secondary school, because I've been your follower since day one. I've always seen you among Ladogbe, Akitola students, Iloki Ogun, Inerua, Igboora, so they are higher institution students. So when I heard that you went to secondary school, they are students too. Even primary school pupils are students. So yes, you mentioned Govt 1.4. Largely, for somebody that has been following Oyo State politics and governance, we discovered that Govt 1.2 largely experienced peace among students in Oyo State, because I know there are inter-campuses, committees and the like. So generally, there was a measure of peace we had in Govt 1.2. What can you tell us was responsible for that?
Okay, so in Govt 1.0, the governor, which is still doing, had so much interest in student development. So when issues were brought before my office and I report the issues to the governor, with immediate effect, those issues were resolved. Issues of school fees, for example, Ladoke Akitola University, the governor did a reduction in school fees. We also had times where students would say, oh, their portals were closed, in Ladoke, Akitola University, because some students, we have struggling students who cannot pay their school fees immediately. The governor will also write and give us instruction to the institution to give them a waiver for them to open their portals back so a student can register. We also have situations whereby students needed support for their programs. The government was always there to support and finance student programs. Yearly, we had the National Students Day event. That's like the celebration of students in the world. Here in Oyo State, from Omitutu 1.0, and I know in Omitutu 2.0 we are also going to do it. The governor has always been celebrating students. We have the law school bursary being paid in the Omitutu 1.0, which has also been paid also in Omitutu 2.0. So basically, the governor has been attentive and be responsive to the needs of students in Oyo State, and that's what really helped us in seeing that all these things were done successfully. So you can't say, oh, I know how to handle students. If your principal did not give you the necessary support and backup, you won't be able to achieve anything. So the support the office received in Omitutu 1.0, the office is also receiving such support again in Omitutu. So that's what has helped us so far. Students want to travel for the National Convention of NANS, the government support them, give them funding. We have students who want to contest for elections in the national level, the government support them. We have students who have contested, won their elections, and they want to do their inauguration, the government support them. So these are the mediums that the government used in making sure that we had a beautiful relationship with the student community.
Thank you. In one word, it's not the issue of constituted authority.
No.
You have the constituted the authority.
Yes.
The relationship goes a long way. I've also noticed that in the past couple of years, the number of campuses has increased. The higher institutions, because you begin to have campus and that means they have new set of student authorities in those places, and by implication, your responsibilities are increasing. How are you managing all these students? Because sometimes students, immediately you don't speak the language they want to hear. They begin to call you names. It doesn't matter what is coming after from you, whatever you have in plan. How have you been? Yes, we know that His Excellency has been giving you support because of the importance he attaches to education. But you, as his liaison officer to the students, as his representative among the students, how have you been able to manage? Because students sometimes, when we're in school, even when the lecturer comes late, you will hear complaint. Even when you go to film and there is light out, you begin to all those. How have you Victor Olojede, have you been managing?
So the student community is a very serious community. The community where you say 2 + 2 is 4, and somebody says, how did you get 4? For every average person believes that 2 + 2 is 4, but for students, they want you to define how you got 4. And so most times we have employed the carrot and stick method, where we come together, we discuss. So yearly or monthly in Omitutu 1.0, for example, we always had meetings. So we used to have student leaders meeting with my office. So we meet every month, end of the month, we sit, we discuss. I ask them about the situations on their campuses. They give their feedback, and where they need help from the government, I write to the necessary quarters to say, oh, this is what the student need, please help us attend to it. Sometimes it goes nasty, where we shout at each other, and that's the beautiful thing about it, because I think Governor Shemakide has done in choice of who to handle what. The governor knows who is best to handle each position. So putting a young person like myself among them makes it easy. So for me, I tell them, you see, the reason why the governor appointed me because I'm your age mate. We can box each other. When we box each other, we'll come back together again and resolve whatever differences is between us. But one thing that's helped us is the fact that, and for me, what has helped me is the fact that I know that I have a principal who would attend to their needs. So that has helped me. And for example, I've also, in the short period of time in office, I've also been able to create opportunity for students. Certain things that students usually will not get before in other government, you now get it. During Ramadan period, you get foodstuff for students. During Ilea period, you get foodstuff for students. During Christmas, you get stuff.
I have to put in at this point. Are you talking for students or for student leaders?
For students, not for student leaders. So for students, so it goes across the campus. Each school comes to pick it up. And one of the things that we usually do is like the method the governor does. The governor uses the right people in the right sectors, in those sectors, to attend to those needs. So for example, if we want to give Muslim students food, we don't say, okay, we give it to the student union. It's coordinated by the student union and the MSSN on campus. So it goes directly to the community that needs to get it. So that's how we've been able to do it over time. The same thing with during, for example, during COVID-19, when we had students who were stranded on campus, the government provided palliative. Over 5,000 palliative were released to the Oyo State students. And these were initiatives that I had to write to the governor and say, oh, this is what we need to do. And then for me also, communicating and opening a means of communication between the student. At any point in time, students can reach me. I know that before I got married, my house was like a student hostel. So student leaders are coming from across board, or they want to spend the night. They spend the night in my place. So we also have a time to interact again. They are leaving the next morning. I'm going to drop them at the park, and then so it creates a bond between myself and the student community.
Thank you. One other issue I want you to please tell us is, as the senior special assistant student affairs, we have had the part of managing the relationship between the students, the student authorities, and the state government. What about intra-campus issues, maybe between the students and the management?
Okay.
Is that part of your responsibility?
Yes, so I also go for my tour, campus tour, where at the campus tour what we do is to resolve internal conflicts and internal issues. So we have the management sit on this side, we have students sit on this side. Students discuss issues that are affecting them, and then we find a compromise, a common ground between the student and the management on their campus. So we've been able to resolve a lot of issues, from post-election crisis to increment in school fees, and maybe some challenges with the health service delivery from the school authority, to different things. You have the situation of, okay, students should not bring vehicles to the campuses, and now we come to resolve some of this. So sometimes we're on the side of the students, sometimes we're on the side of the management, because when we see certain things that the management is bringing forward, and some of the when it comes to the superior argument on certain issue, like the government say, we bow for superior argument. So sometimes that's what we do, but most of the time we've been able to resolve this. For example, when the governor gave us union buses, 28 buses were purchased for student community in Oyo State, all tertiary institutions in Oyo State, including federal government owned institutions and then the state owned institutions. Then we gave all the indigenous student body. Now, for certain institutions, the student wants to drive bus themselves. The management says, no, we don't want you to drive yourself. We are going to get you a driver. Now, For us, that's what we want, because we don't want a situation whereby students drive recklessly and then they lose their life. We know that it's a driver of the school, it is more managed, the bus is well taken care of, more, yeah. So when those crises, because those crises immediately came up after we distributed the buses, so we're able to resolve, stand on the right side, and then also have a common ground. Say, okay, it's the student bus, let them have access to it at any time. You have to get them a driver who is ready to be available to the student need at any time, and that's what we're able to resolve to. And then now there's no more crisis on such.
Now, looking at the situation of the standard of education, because for most parents, that's one of the things that are bothering us, that the standard of education keeps falling. But in your state and the advantage of your office, in what way do you come in to make sure that the standard of education in some of these schools are not dropping? For instance, I will tell you this. My children were just joking that there's tertiary institution in your state, or maybe Southwest Nigeria, where they insist that their students should put on uniform. That they always make jest of those. Some of these things I know is because the average age of higher institution students now have reduced. When we were in school, you see people in 30s, but now you see teenagers, even in final year now. So what are you doing to make sure, is there anything you have to do? Because definitely if you have to do that, it's not entirely your
So we have the Ministry of Education, Science and Tech, which is the supervisory body for all tertiary institutions, and even for all educational institutions in the state. So, and in the ministry we have the Directorate of Schools, we have the Directorate of Higher Education, and do basically tertiary institution. Directorate of School and do that of public secondary school and schools generally, including registrations and the like, and then putting up policies that would strengthen and increase the value of the knowledge given to the students. So sometimes also as an office, we write those directorate to give them our own ideas towards the growth and development of the standard of education in areas, and that has worked for us. For example, during the period of COVID, myself and the Honorable Commissioner for Education at that time, Barrister Olaleye, we formulated the education in emergency period. And what that is, that even if there's going to be any pandemic, any crisis going forward, students should still be able to have access to school. They may not have to be in the four walls of a school, but from their homes they can be able to access school materials. And we, for example, we have a very large structure or stuff like that. And I remember during that COVID period, we were also able to attract like Healthcare to sponsor for students to learn. They give them about 500 MB per day to learn and stuff. So these are stuff that we all brought together to develop the high level and the good standard of education we are experiencing in the university. We've not totally got in there, but gradually we are going to be a leading state in education and in transfer of knowledge to our students in our schools.
Thank you. One other thing I want to ask is, particularly in the northern part of the country, we've had cases of security breaches where marauders and suspected headsmen and bandits, they just go and abduct. Thank God we've not had any of such. But is there any special measure you have put in place to forestall that? Because some of the things you have said so far, I noticed that you have been proactive enough. Because you have not mentioned many crises actually, because you have tried through relationship to prevent them. So what are the things? You don't need to go into the entire details if it is.
Okay, so here in Oyo State we have the SRS number, the security number and code, and all principals of all secondary schools and all tertiary institutions already have that number. So when there's an emergency, they call that number, the emergency number, and immediately the security operative. Also in our tertiary institution, one of the things we've done is that we've also made sure, for like example, in the police headquarters, they now have a student desk that attends to students' needs at any point in time. In the DSS, they've had that over time, a student desk that attends. We've also introduced that to the civil defense too, and now they also have a student desk. Well, with Amoteco being its structure, we already have a relationship, but we're also going to make sure that there's also a student desk. So these people, because we want a situation whereby people who know how to handle students, because sometimes if I had not passed through school, I have not done some level of student unionism, it might be difficult for me to handle the student community, because sometimes you see students write to certain things and you wonder, but because you have also done some of those things before, and you know, if for example you see students say, oh, we had that the governor has approved certain monies for you for something, which some of these things are not even true. So, and we also did the same thing while we're at their level. We just sit down one place and say, oh, you know, the governor approved some money for the SSA or the SC as it was then, and then they did not deliver it to students. And at the end of the day, there was nothing of such. So, those understanding and knowing how we're able to go around it at that time has also helped us in this thing.
So, Mr. Victor Dideolu Olojede, we really appreciate this moment with you. This first anniversary, we congratulate you because definitely you have improved on the 1.0, and this is just the first anniversary. The consequent one, you know that you'll be able to gain bigger mileage in your relationship with the student and adequately representing your principal. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All wellness we call on you, we'll be able to get. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm Rotimi Johnson, who just for Talent Television. Thank you.